CATIA V5 generative sheet metal design. As you can see, this is the workbench, and the part will have a multi-body panel over here. So we see the first panel, which is this one over here on the right, and afterwards we have two cylindrical bands, one with the second panel and one with the third panel. And at the end we are also going to create a 2D drawing for this. We're going to see how we can add the unfolded sheet metal part over here, and also an isometric view with shading with material. So let's get started. I will create a new part. So start, mechanical design. I will go to generative sheet metal design. Now for the first panel I will define a new sketch over here in the Y and Z plane. The sketch will be a rectangle, which I will center within the origin, horizontal value 150, and for the height 50 millimeters. Now before I will add that wall, I will also need to define the parameters. So for this case study part I will go with 1.6 for the thickness. The default band radius will be double, and I will also go over here for the band extremities, and I will choose a square relief, which will be 1/2. And now I'm going to define the first wall. The first wall direction will be like this, so towards the screen. And with that wall defined, I will create a wall on edge on the bottom section. We see the value for the height. I will make this smaller, so something like 25. And now I will jump within the extremities, and I will have this offsetted. So we know that in total we have 150. Therefore I will go with the left offset with -30 and -30 from the right offset as well. I'm gonna click OK, and we're gonna see how we're gonna have that square relief that we define within the parameters. Over here you can change that type. For this case study I will stick with the square relief. Afterwards, let's create another wall on edge over here. We're gonna see that the extremities will be the same just like before. So we see from the left I will no longer wanna have that. So in this case, from the right I will go again to 0, and from the left I will go with -30. That means we're gonna have this wall on edge with a length of 20 millimeters, because initially we had 50. Now for this part I will also create a small rectangle over here, because I want to do a cutout. So I created this rectangle. Let's see, I will add this value to be 10. Okay, so not like that, not 10,000, only 10. You can also use over here the fit all in, and that will center if you mistype a value like that. And I will make this 10/4. I will also have this aligned to the side, so I will add over here 20 millimeters, and from the top I will add 8. I also want to have this rounded on the corners, therefore I will make use of the fillet tool. I will do a rectangle selection to grab all 4 vertices, and over here for the radius I typed in 1 millimeter, and that will automatically create all those 1 millimeter radius corners. So with this sketch I will do a cutout, and afterwards with the cutout selected I will have this pattern. So we're gonna have the first direction. I'm gonna use the horizontal selection, and over here the vertical, and let's add over here 3. I will type in the distance to be less, so 3/12 for the second direction. For the first direction I will go with more, but again with a smaller spacing. and I would like this to be reversed, so inwards. You're gonna see that this will be for that. I will also add in additional design element to this panel, so I will make use of a line. If you want to, you can have the line also constrained, but I will use this line to use a bead stamping, which you can find over here under cutting and stamping. You're gonna see the bead, and by default this will be the direction. I want the bead to be inwards, and we can also change the radius. As we can see, for radius 1 we can make this lower, something like 1. We can also change the height to be lower, again to 1. I will add another cutout section over here. I just want to show you how you can easily center and align a hexagon. So we see you can find the hexagon over here underneath polygon. We're going to have the number of sides. In this case it's set to 6. So let's say that initially I draw it like this and it's not aligned. I can delete that radius and I can define the length of a segment, in this case 6. And afterwards, if I want to align this, I can select for example, this edge, and I can make this to be horizontal. We're gonna see how that will align the sketch, and afterwards I can draw it and position it exactly where I want this cutout to be. I can use constraint to have this either from the middle centered like this, so 10 by 12 over here, so I can use those, and at the end I can use the cutout to have that profile removed. Over here I will want to make use of the whole wizard, so let's say that this section will be assembled to a different component, so I can use the whole over here. I will select the inner profile for this, and I can go and change the type. So maybe I want this to be countersunk like this. You're gonna see that the diameter will be quite large, so I'll just make this 10. If I'm gonna click on preview, we're gonna see how that will look like. So we see the thread diameter is currently set to 11, even though the whole diameter I changed that to be only to 4. So we can also change the type of this. As we can see, the value will be quite high. So over here for a counterbore depth, we need to have a value equal to that, so I'll go with 5. I will click OK, and we're gonna see how that hole will be so large. And afterwards I will go and have this added over here. And I'm gonna change the type and the diameter over here, so I will make this smaller, let's say 5. And we're gonna see how that will look like. If you want to center this, it's important to note that for the hole you need to center the sketch, and the sketch will be a point. You can have this either position like this, so we can make use of the equidistant point, but in order to do that you need to select the two edges first while holding down Control, and the point should be last, and afterwards you have the possibility to center it like this. Or you can center it directly with a dimension. In this case we know that 10 will be to center that, and after we're gonna do a local update, we're gonna have that changed. We can do also a circular cutout over here. We can change again the diameter, let's say 4 in this case. I will click OK. And if you want to position multiple circular cutouts, we can mirror this point. So I'm going to select both of those two edges while holding down Control, select the axis, the last. So I will do that selection again, because the mouse sometimes when I only want to click once does double click, so this is quite annoying in CATIA. So we have that mirror line, we have the point, and we can have that mirror around. And now if I will change the value over here, maybe I'll position this to 8 millimeters from the side and to 8 over here, the mirror will also be positioned, and afterwards we have this mirror. We can also use the mirror feature over here, but then we will need to define a plane over here where we have that mirror section. So it will be the same, just like this workflow. I will also add a chamfer, so I want those two edges to be angled. And let's say that this is the first panel. We can also go over here within the part body. I can go to properties and I will name this first panel. Now I will add a new body, so over here insert body, this will be the second body. I can change the name, so second panel in this case, and afterwards I will right click and set this defining work object, so that I know that CATIA will draw sketches over here. And I will use the Z and X plane to continue this design, which will take me to this view. Over here I will go to the profile sketch, and I will also enable cut part by sketch plane so that I can see where I will draw. And over here I will make a design that will have two elements like this. So again, the mouse decided to double click that and end that. So this should be that profile, and at the top I will have this aligned and at the end closed over there. So now I can have this constrained over here. While holding down Control, I will add coincidence. Again, I want to have this aligned at the top as well, so we're going to use the same coincidence tool. And we can start adding some dimensions over here. So let's do that. Let's make this section 50 millimeters. This one as well 50 millimeters. I'm gonna slightly move this closer. This should be, let's say, 20. I'm just gonna round up some values over here. This should be 15. Let's make this symmetric like that. And we're also gonna have this vertical, which I'm gonna add it to be 25 in this case. Some of the elements are still not fully defined, therefore I can make this 20 millimeters. This should be 20 as well, and we only need to specify this value to have this fully defined, so I will go over here for 50. So that will take my full length over here to 110. I can have that increased by adding higher dimension over here, so I'll go over here to 80, and that will take this to 140. I can close that sketch, and here is the important part. As we can see, this aligned over here, and now with the wall tool it's important that this should go on the other side, so I will invert this so that we have 90 degrees over here between those two. Otherwise we won't be able to bend from flat, to bend them, because bend from flat we're gonna see works a little bit differently. But keep in mind that if you want to merge those at the end, you will have to have them properly aligned like this. Now let's see how the bend from flat works. We're gonna need to use a line, so in this case I will position a straight line, a horizontal line like this, and I will make this at 35 millimeters. And now I can use the bend from flat. Since I'm only working within the second panel, within this part body, CATIA will know and will work properly. So as we can see, we're gonna have that bend according to that line. Let's add some design elements here as well. So I'm gonna add a large rectangle over here, and I'm not gonna fully constrain this, so I'm gonna leave it like this. Let's just normalize those values to nominal elements like this. And with a closed rectangle, we can use the surface stamping, and we're gonna see how that profile will look. I will want this to be on the inside. We can also change those values if you want to. But let's say that this is the end panel, and I want to create a new wall on edge over here to discuss a secondary stamp over there. So within the extremities I will have that close, and I will go -15 with -15 on both sides. We see that square clearance that we talked previously over here within the parameters. And I want to add a bridge. So let's see, this will be the bridge stamp. I'll position the bridge stamp over here. If I will go with preview, we're gonna see that bridge stamp. We see the length value. I'm gonna highly increase this all the way up to 20. And if you want to center the stamp, it will be the same workflow just for a hole wizard. So underneath the bridge we're gonna have a sketch, and that sketch will have a point. If you want to position it equidistant, we can do the same selection, equidistant point, and afterwards we can just position it according to the edge distance. And we're gonna have that bridge stamping over there. Now let's define the last panel. So I'm gonna insert a new body. I'm gonna add the name for this one. So properties. This will be third panel. And for the third panel, I will start my new sketch over here. So again, the mouse double clicked over there. I will just select that once, and I can create a new rectangle shape over here. We know that this should be the same length, 150 by 50. And for the wall, we're gonna see that the direction will be towards this side, which is the intended alignment for that. I'm gonna create a new wall on edge over here for this section. Let's say -20, -20. And we can add additional design elements over here. I will just do something quick. So I selected the inner face. Afterwards, go to cut part by sketch plane. I will just draw a rectangle. If you want to, you can have that constrained. I will just put some nominal values over here and have this cutout. Again, if you want to, we can add that little wall on edge, and for this part this would be recommended since we want to have that that symmetry, so we can further, let's say, assemble this to a different component. And I'm gonna use the same hole over here. I will also center this. This is really important, so cut part by section plane, especially when you are working with multi-bodies within the same part. It really helps to better visualize the model, because the other sections will be trimmed and you can see directly how you center the components. Okay, so let's say that this is the intended design part. Now at the end, we're gonna use the bend tool over here. And we see within the bend definition, we're gonna have support 1 and support 2. So I'm gonna click on the first panel, afterwards the second one. And we're gonna receive this bend creation warning. Bend would be created in the main body. Would you like to continue? I will say that yes. We're gonna have that same bend radius position over here, so that we previously added over here. And we're gonna do the same with the second and the third panel. And we're gonna have those combined as well. So now all the panels are linked within the main part body, and underneath each of those we're gonna have the other part bodies. So keep in mind that if you want to change something, for example, I want to change the position of the bridge, I can easily do that, and I can type in a different value. Let's say that the bridge should go closer to the edge, and that should update. And we can do the update all at the bottom if it's not set to automatic update within the settings. And now we can do the fold and fold for the extended multi-body part. Now for the last section of the video, I also want to create a 2D drawing of this. Therefore I will go to Start, Mechanical Design, Drafting. And on the drafting I will use the default all views for this. I will go for an A3 format. We're gonna see that it will be a little bit smaller, therefore I'm gonna change it, and you can later change it over here within the properties. I'm gonna make this larger, and I will move the views. And I also want to keep, let's say, the middle view over here, and I will just delete some of the others. So I will select those on the right, hit delete. It will take a little to process that delete, but that shouldn't be any problem. I will delete also the top view over here that we have position on the bottom. And I will just move this a little bit to have room for the unfolded view, because that's the most important for sheet metal parts. And you can find the unfolded view over here. So underneath the views, you're going to have the unfolded view. And you need to jump back to the part by going to Window. We know that the part is called Part 2, the one that we just designed, because I didn't change that name. And I will select a face, and that will give us the unfolded, which will align at a 1:1 scale on this A2 paper. And also, if you want to add an isometric view, you can add that as well. So let's say that I would like the view to be positioned like this. You can rotate within the 3D viewport, and afterwards click on the part. That will take that exact view. And as we can see over here, we have that preview with let's say the shading and the edges, but as soon as I will select it, it will be changed to an outline sketch like this. So if you want to go back to that view, to those visual appearance, you can go to Properties, and you can enable over here at the bottom. We're gonna have a raster, and for the options I'm gonna go shading with edges. If I will click apply, we're gonna have that added over here. You can also enable 3D colors, which will take let's say the shading within CATIA, but maybe you want to keep it like this with a gray metallic view. Okay, so I hope that you find this video useful. If so, I highly encourage that you're gonna take a look at the CATIA V5 tips and tricks playlist. Currently there are 67 videos over here, and I will add this one as well. So I'm gonna position it within the video description. Also consider to support by subscribing to the channel. So thanks for watching.